My name's Dr. Paul Brewerton, the Strengths Guy, Doctor of Psychology and Chair and Founder of StrengthScope. I podcast each week just as you're getting your head back into work mode to give you a positive, strengths-based boost into your week ahead. My podcasts are packed full of tips and tools to help you get the best out of your working week. I hope you enjoy this week's podcast. Isn't technology wonderful? For those of us who grew up with only pseudo-tech in our lives, today's technology is pretty mind-blowing. For us olds, we saw times when personal computers needed plastic RAM packs to be stuck on the back to give them a 16K boost. Vinyl records weren't a style choice. And there were times before the internet and mobile phones. I know that's actually true. To be honest, whoever you are, today's tech is pretty mind-blowing. But we humans are adaptable creatures, and technology acceleration hasn't all happened in one go. So we've pretty much sort of managed to keep pace, adapt, and get the best from what's out there as it's evolved. But our tech-enabled world has come at a price. It is genuinely challenging to deal with the pace and volume of information coming at us day to day, to sift and sense make, to stay focused and not distracted, sticking with things for longer than 30 seconds, seeing through the dopamine-laced design of much of the tech that surrounds us is really hard. And to a lesser or greater extent, it's affecting our sleep patterns, our relationships, our stress levels. But I'm not an anti-techer, although I'm not an early adopter either. I kind of want to see evidence that something works and is valuable before I jump in. But I'm all about Netflix, iPhone, Spotify, Fitbit, because I feel that tech genuinely enriches my life. So with all those potential distractions surrounding you, how can you up your self-management game to keep on top of your personal productivity and stay in control? I'm going to make today's podcast punchy because there's a lot we could dive into, but I want to stay focused. And if you're interested in this topic, my back catalogue has quite a few ideas. To select just two, How to Do a Digital Detox was my third ever podcast way back at season 1, episode 3. The more recent Making Home Working Work for You is at season 6, episode 12, and it has some practical tips on managing your home working routine to stay productive. Both of these are worth a listen for more. Today I'm going to focus on some practical tips for digital era self-management and productivity, including 1. Remember who's in control. 2. Be present. 3. Prioritise true human connection. And 4. Build digital self-management habits. So first up, remember who's in control. Which is easy to say and much harder to do. But at the end of it all, Netflix doesn't control you. You don't have to binge watch a series just because it's feeding you a new episode after 10 seconds and you just can't seem to find the remote in time to pause it. Your fitness tech isn't demanding that you go out for a run or that your resting heart rate needs to be X BPM. Yes, these technologies are all designed to nudge you, remind you, gain your attention, ultimately to get a maximum share of your interactive hours. But you paid for them. You know where the off buttons are. You can pause them whenever you like. I remember going without Fitbit and Strava for a few weeks, a few months back, and just running free, no strap on my wrist, no record of where I'd been or how fast I was running, no biofeedback at all. And it was wonderful. It helped me reset. And when I went back to both, it was a choice. And it reminded me that I had that choice and that I was in control. So remember that you have choices. You're the boss of the tech, not the other way around. If it's helping you live your best life, genuinely, then good, it's a win. If not, switch off and reset to stay productive and happy. Tip 2, be present. With home working on the increase, tech distraction turned up to 11, being present is harder than ever. But I can't emphasize enough what a positive difference building a practice around being present has. What I mean by this is stopping everything a few times a day and making a conscious choice, wherever you're sat, or even better out in nature, to allow your senses to take in everything and just be fully there for a few moments. Inevitably, you'll get distracted again by a thought or feeling or to-do list item, but the trick then is to catch yourself at that moment of distraction and go back to being present in the moment. Doing that repeatedly means you get better at spotting the distraction and making a choice to push it away and move back to just being in the moment. I find that reassuring and real. Being present and mindful isn't about being a superhuman Zen god where you're never distracted. In fact, the distractions are helpful. That practice is at the heart of self-management. self-control, and in the end, personal productivity, because you're stretching your focus muscles each time you get distracted and then bring your focus and attention back to the moment. They're not muscles, by the way, they're neural pathways helping you build self-control. Tip 3, prioritise true human connection. We're hearing more and more about relationships being negatively affected by digital life, and while it's easy to blame invasive technology for that, of course in the end it's a choice for each of us. The pandemic is making it harder to connect in person, but we can still use technology to connect with friends, family, work colleagues in more meaningful ways. We've naturally, through the pandemic, become more used to reading emotions through screens, and if we're prepared to ask real questions and to truly listen, then it's still more than possible to connect on a deep human level. Personally, I like to tell people how I'm feeling when I'm feeling a feeling, if I'm meeting them through a screen, because it isn't always obvious. And of course, that can take a bit of courage to say, wow, that's making me feel a bit emotional. Or, okay, I didn't expect that feeling to be so strong. But it really helps to make that human to human connection that most of us, all of us, naturally crave. And with more meaningful human connections, we develop a greater support network to help us stay well and to thrive when we're facing into more challenging times. A very quick word here on leadership and management in the digital era. As a leader and a manager in these tech-enabled times of ours, it's important to get good at asking questions, good at listening, even better at reading emotions through a screen, really connecting. And if you're interested, I have some more tips on that and managing people virtually in my podcast on getting the best from remote management at Season 7, Episode 1. My final tip for today is to build digital self-management habits. In terms of self-management and maximising personal productivity, building in good detox habits through each day can be a real cornerstone. But what do I mean? Well, sleep hygiene for one. Making your bedroom a tech-free zone is a great start. I listen to Brené Brown's Unlocking Us podcast channel often enough to have heard her rapid-fire questions at the end of the show a few times. And one of the questions she almost always asks her guests is, what do you have on your bedside table? And every time people have such interesting and amazing answers. I don't. I have a bottle of water. That's it, ever. No tech, no TV in the room, blackout curtains, done. Boring. And for me, it's the best way to set myself up for a good day ahead for as many days of the week as I can. Sleep aside, I'm also talking here about building habits, routines, even household rules about when and where tech is okay and not okay. No tech at the dinner table, maybe no tech upstairs. Taking regular breaks during the day from any technology. Getting into nature. Being able to close the door or the lid on work. These are all mini breaks. They're not full-blooded attempts to digitally detox. It's more digital self-management day to day. That's it. I said today's podcast would be short and punchier. So there you have it. To max your personal productivity and self-management in the digital era, remember who's in control, be present, prioritize true human connection, and build daily digital self-management habits. If you liked today's podcast, please subscribe, whichever platform you listen to your podcasts on. When you do subscribe, it makes a difference to the findability of the podcast on your platform because of the algorithm, and that helps more people find the channel and get benefit, which is what I'm really keen to make happen. So please give me a subscribe link. Thanks for listening. Till next time, stay strong.